This is TWiT.
Topic of our show: which mobile VPN client? As I mentioned at the top, Bleeping Computer provided some coverage from a Simon Migliano of Metric, who is the head of research at Metric Labs. In Bleeping Computer's coverage, they said 1 in 5 apps, 1 in 5 from the top 150 free VPN Android apps in Google's Play Store was flagged as a potential source of malware, while a quarter of them, so 1 in 4, come with user privacy breaking bugs such as DNS leaks, which expose users' DNS queries to their ISPs. They wrote, as found by Simon Migliano, Metrics Labs head of research, the company behind the top 10 VPN service, these VPN Android applications have already been installed in approximately 260 million times, or it's in 260 million phones, according to the numbers reported by Google's official store. Okay, so we got several problems here. First of all, the fact that there are 150 free VPN Android apps, that suggests this is a popular thing, that running a VPN in your Android device is something people want to do. In the show notes, I took a snapshot from Bleeping Computer's page where it shows an app by installation. And so, for example, Hotspot Shield free version, more than 50 million downloads, risky permissions were detected, no DNS leaks, risky functions were detected, no virus or malware. Super VPN, also 150 million downloads, also risky permissions detected, also risky functions detected, and DNS leaks in this one. Hi VPN, 10 million downloads, risky permissions detected, risky functions detected, DNS leaks detected, and so on and so on. Going down the list, lots of risky permissions detected, lots of risky functions detected, most of them, all but one, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is the top 10 VPN clients, and of those, 1, 2, 3, 4 did not leak DNS. The other 6 did. 8 of the 10 had risky functions detected, and a different 8 of the 10 had risky permissions detected. Bleeping Computer reported that the research team found the following intrusive permissions and user privacy breaking code. So when I talked about risky functions or risky permissions, get this: location tracking in a quarter of the VPN apps are doing location tracking. Access to device status information in 38% of them. In a fewer number, use of camera and microphone and the ability to secretly send SMS messages in a VPN client, which makes my head explode. Over half, 57%, featured code to get a user's last known location. So this brings us to the main topic and title of today's podcast: which mobile VPN client? There is only one anyone ever needs. It's called, not surprisingly, OpenVPN for Android. I have a link in the show notes. OpenVPN. It's maintained, compiled from OpenVPN source by Arnie Schwab, who's who lives in Germany, and it's like, maybe it's not flashy. I don't get why it's only 5 million downloads, whereas the other ones are 50 million.
Well, Steve, because it doesn't offer an OpenVPN server. It's just a client.
Oh, yes, and that's all anyone needs.
Okay, but the other ones you were talking about were clients for commercial services in many cases. So like Hotspot is a commercial VPN provider. So this is not, so be clear when you download this, folks, you still need an OpenVPN server. This is just a client.
Right. And I was going to say that. I didn't understand that those other ones are, so they're providing
Can't say
you
for all of them, but Hotspot for sure. That's a commercial VPN service.
Right.
So I'm not sure what Bleeping Computer is
Shield.
trying to. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're.
Well,
I think they're confusing the category as well. I'm not sure exactly what they're saying. There are a lot of bad VPN companies, that's for sure.
There are bad VPN companies, and what we now know is there are also bad VPN clients. That is, nobody who wants to use a VPN would want to have something that was tracking their location, using their camera and microphone and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, but there's nothing wrong with using an open VPN. I mean, this is OpenVPN, right? Use the client.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you need to have a server at the other end, otherwise.
Yes. And so I guess I would separate the two. I would use no other client than this OpenVPN client for Android. It is on GitHub. It's produced by a reputable guy who's doing this in open source. That's all this thing is a clean, simple client, an OpenVPN client for Android. And then and that was where I was headed with this, is then go choose whatever OpenVPN service you feel comfortable with, but there are like many. In fact, all of these VPNs are probably flavors of OpenVPN, because this problem, the whole VPNing problem, has been resolved. I mean, it's been solved already. So anyway, so that was my takeaway, was the idea that there were this incredible number of clients where you've got to ask yourself, and as you and I have often talked about, Leo, why are they providing this to you for free? I wouldn't install anything on an Android device other than this one OpenVPN client, and then choose whatever service you like.
Most good VPN services have their own client. They have their own tied app. It's a dedicated app.
Yeah, although you are able to configure whatever you want to.
I guess so, yeah. If you're using NordVPN or our sponsor ExpressVPN, you're using the Nord client or the ExpressVPN client, which means you don't have to do any configuration. It just connects to their servers.
Right.
So if you know what you're doing, OpenVPN for Android makes sense, but you have to know what the server is, you have to know how to configure it, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, that was my message. Just use OpenVPN. That this problem has been solved. You really don't need to look any further. And you can have a clean client in your device.
Is DNS leakage something that the client does, or is it something that the service does, the server does?
Yes, it's something that the client does if it's not designed properly. And even OpenVPN, you can control with the config file whether DNS is routed through the tunnel or not routed through the tunnel. So it does need to be set up properly so that all of the network access routes through the tunnel, and DNS isn't being provided by the OS's underlying platform service.
Yeah.
So it is worth verifying that. If you're concerned about that from a privacy leakage standpoint, that you've got a client that's doing it, it's configured the way you want it to be.
Right. There are other I know many companies don't like OpenVPN because of previous bugs. Right. There are some companies that use other VPN technologies like IPsec. Right. The problem with IPsec is that it can be difficult to get out of certain locations. There are a lot of firewalls that block IPsec, whereas OpenVPN is able to run over standard ports because it just uses TLS and HTTPS.
Yes, exactly.
Port 443. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
So this, just to be clear, that's a great client for OpenVPN, but you have to have a server somewhere that you're connected
Correct.
to. Many people do. I mean, lots of routers support it, for instance.
Yeah, it's what I've got in every one of my locations has an OpenVPN server and IPsec or pfSense, which is my preferred firewall. It's got, OpenVPN server. You just click a button and then it's turned on. So it's great.